1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 4.
Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer and welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling, the channel dedicated to wrestling video games fueled by my love, passion, and obsession for them. Thank you so much on clicking this video. I am bringing you another episode in my long-running WWF No Mercy Let's Play series where I'm going through all the different championship paths, trying to 100% them. I'm on my last path, or at my last set of paths, actually. This is the WWF World Heavyweight Championship path that I will be playing with Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? I'm sure everyone is going to spam the what comments down below. Last time I did this, I brought you The Rock, where I played through the championship paths. So there's about 8 paths total. So this is number 2. If you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, make sure you follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/BeBetterGamer. You can find me streaming the Aki games at least once a week, along with WWE 2K19, Fire Pro Wrestling World, and other wrestling video games. But the Aki series is my favorite. No Mercy is a close second to Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, I have to admit, but Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be the focus of the video today. If you're familiar with my Let's Play series, you know I like to focus on the historical context of what was going on around the time of this game when it was released back in November of 2000. And starting off the championship path, we always start with Taka Michinoku. The last time I did this path, I wondered, well, what happens if you play as Taka Michinoku? Who do you face? And I just put out the question, do you face S.A. Rios? And someone in the comments, sure enough, said, I actually tested it, and yes, you do face S.A. Rios. So there you go. If you play as Taka Michinoku, you will face S.A. Rios in your first match. But it's always going to be against Taka when you're starting out for the championship path. And in this run, as suggested by Hassan the Mighty down in the comments, I will win every match, but the Royal Rumble, which is the second match, I will lose after eliminating 20 people. So you'll see me lose the Royal Rumble with Stone Cold. I'm going to skip ahead most of the Royal Rumble when we get to that next. And the path ends up following very close to what Stone Cold had to go through to get to WrestleMania 15, aka WrestleMania 1999, what they call it in the game. And with The Rock, as we saw in the last championship path, the storyline followed very closely of what happened leading up to WrestleMania 2000 when we had the WrestleMania main event at WrestleMania 16 with a McMahon in every corner. So I think that's very interesting because if you remember, and I talked about this briefly in my Rock No Mercy Let's Play, 2000 Stone Cold was significantly absent because of his neck surgery. It was written in the show that he got hit by a car with Rikishi, right? But we all know he didn't really get hit by a car with Rikishi, and that's why he was out for a year. He was written off that way because he had to go get neck surgery. And Stone Cold has always had issues with his neck throughout his career. And we probably all, if you're watching this video, we probably all remember that very famous match he had with Owen Hart, where Owen Hart did the sit-out pile driver and Austin was just hanging a little bit too low and his neck broken during that match. But when he was out during that time, he was still kept on camera. He was back on Raw pretty much the next day and still involved in the storylines, just not wrestling. They were doing a very good job of masking the fact that Stone Cold was nursing a very serious neck injury. But this time it was different. So they did the whole angle where he got hit by the car from Rikishi, who we didn't know was Rikishi at the time, and he was gone for a whole year. Normally when I do these Let's Plays, I talk about going from November of 99 to November of 2000, and it was in November of 1999 that, you know, Survivor Series, that they started the whole who hit Stone Cold, who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. I love when WWE does these whodunit mysteries. They don't do it enough, in my opinion. They have a lot of tropes that they keep doing over and over again, and the whodunit mysteries are always my favorite, that you don't really see them do enough. But you know, most recently they did one in NXT with Aleister Black getting hit in the back in the parking lot, and like who attacked Aleister Black. It reminds me of the who shot Mr. Burns sort of scenario. And, you know, everyone was a suspect. No one was innocent. And that's what pretty much was the background all year while The Rock was rising to stardom. He was already very popular, but he was rising as the most popular babyface in the company and feuding with Triple H, all while Stone Cold was absent. So here we go. We're starting the Royal Rumble. And I talked about this in my last Let's Play. It's really cool how the Royal Rumble in this championship path follows closely to the Royal Rumble that happened in 2000 that took place in Madison Square Garden, which I didn't get to go to. I grew up in New York City, and I wanted very badly to go to this Royal Rumble, and my friend was in charge, I think, of trying to get tickets for us, but they had sold out so quickly. There was no way we were getting tickets for them. So I had to watch it at home on pay-per-view with my friend, and the entrance follow pretty closely to the entrance in the Royal Rumble, of course with a few exceptions. And if you notice, like, members like the Radicals, like you see Perry Saturn, are substitutes for people who aren't necessarily in the Rumble. But we're going to go ahead and speed everything up. And like I said, I have to lose this Royal Rumble. You have to lose it after 20 entrants. Now, I'm always very nervous about the amount of people I'm eliminating. And even though you have that counter up above, you know, it starts with 33, so I'm guessing 34 really. So I'm guessing once the counter is below 14, you'd probably be safe. But I went ahead and I went the little extra mile, sort of to also build a narrative, you know, getting to the final four. Getting to the final four, and I get into a really nice pattern here, as you can see, where I'm eliminating everyone one by one. That's where you want to get. There's Bradshaw coming in. Gonna eliminate him, and now we're down to the final four. I'm gonna let myself get eliminated. So what I'm gonna do, easy way to do this, is just to run to the ropes or walk backwards to the ropes like I just did, and then let whoever's coming in eliminate you. And Godfather is gonna do the honors. He's gonna eliminate me and take me out. He's staring me down. Boom, there we go. I'm gone. There it is. So Stone Cold Steve Austin eliminated for the Royal Rumble. He wasn't in Royal Rumble 2000, but he is the #1 ranked wrestler in WWE with the most wins at the Royal Rumble, winning the 1997 Royal Rumble, 1998 Royal Rumble, and the 2001. And there's other different paths, or I should say, I think there's one more other path you could do coming out of this Royal Rumble, where if you just lose right off the bat, it sets you down on a different path. So we'll see that in a future Let's Play. And now McMahon's gonna come out, and now we're sort of gonna be following the events of what happened in 1999, leading up from that Royal Rumble to WrestleMania 15. And the winner of the 1999 Royal Rumble was Mr. McMahon. Mr. McMahon was the winner of the Royal Rumble. Mr. McMahon was going to go and main event WrestleMania. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. It was just another plot point in preventing McMahon, or in helping McMahon prevent Stone Cold from getting the WWF Championship. Remember when I talked about how WWE loves to recycle tropes? Well, this is a trope that they've been doing since 1999. We're even seeing it today. We're seeing it today twice. We're seeing it today with Becky Lynch being prevented from going to the WrestleMania main event, even though we all know she's going to get to the WrestleMania main event eventually, and they'll probably do it at Fastlane. And even with Kofi Kingston being prevented from fighting for the WWF Championship by Mr. McMahon. It's a formula that they've been doing for so long, and it's really interesting when people say, oh man, things used to be much better in the Attitude Era. And I always say things are the same since the Attitude Era. It was new back then. It was new. McMahon never really went out of his way to prevent anyone from winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania until Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that was a huge part of why Stone Cold Steve Austin became popular, was because he was fighting McMahon, he was fighting the Authority, and they've just done that over and over and over again. And we still have these storylines where the McMahons are fighting the Authority. But back then in 1999, this was a very big deal. This was something that had never been done before. And right here what you're seeing is a cage match They would have a cage match at St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which was the pay-per-view right after the Royal Rumble and right before WrestleMania. And if Stone Cold won, he would go to WrestleMania. A lot of things happened here at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. This is the first time that Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon wrestle one-on-one on a pay-per-view. There was a few, I think 1 or 2 Raws where they sort of entered the ring, but I don't think Mr. McMahon actually really fought. He took a few stunners, but this was like the first major match that we ever got to see Vince McMahon wrestle. We would see him wrestle on pay-per-view and at WrestleManias several times after this. It was also the debut of The Big Show. The Big Show, infamously, if you remember this match, comes out from the bottom of the ring, comes out from under the ring, like through the ring, not like under the apron, like literally like punches a hole through the ring, comes out, attacks Stone Cold, but he throws him into the steel cage in an OMG moment before WWE 2K19 started doing them, and Stone Cold rolls out of the cage and ends up winning and going to WrestleMania to face The Rock. So in the Big Show's debut, he messes up already. He messes up. He's trying to help Mr. McMahon, and that was a big reveal too. That was a big reveal. Big Show obviously started off in WCW, joining the Dungeon of Doom, but then eventually capturing the World Heavyweight Championship, joining NWO, leaving NWO, joining NWO. It was always very complicated. But then him coming and joining the corporation, but Stone Cold still gets the win because Stone Cold is going to go to WrestleMania. He's going to go to WrestleMania. He's going to face The Rock at WrestleMania 15, which would be their first out of a trilogy of main event WrestleMania matches. They main event WrestleMania 15, they main event WrestleMania 17, and they don't main event technically WrestleMania 19. They're not the last match, but they're one of the main events, if you will. And that's their trilogy of WrestleMania one-on-one matches. And what's really fascinating about this storyline being represented in WWF No Mercy, I think, is you look at the time when Austin goes to WrestleMania 15 to face The Rock. Austin was clearly the hottest star in the company, like no ends, ifs, or buts. There was no one else as popular as Stone Cold Steve Austin. And his big rival starting to come up, was The Rock. 1999 was the year, and 98 was the year where The Rock was coming up as a heel, starting out in WWE as Rocky Maivia, and then joining the Nation and becoming The Rock. Eventually, he would leave the Nation and people would think he would become like a big baby face, but then turns on everyone again at Survivor Series, the tournament, joins Mr. McMahon and the corporation, and he becomes the corporate champion. And that's what sort of sets in pattern his time to go face Stone Cold at WrestleMania. Here we go. Handicap match with Patterson and Briscoe, the Stooges for the corporation, playing in WWF No Mercy. It was really cool to play the storyline too in WWF No Mercy because, road to WrestleMania in WrestleMania 2000, you don't really act out any storylines. You just go through sort of the months and the weeks, and wrestling ran the matches, and it doesn't really follow any sort of storyline. There's always a moment like halfway where someone interferes against you, but it's kind of always random. I was actually playing it on Twitch recently, and I was going through the road to WrestleMania as Undertaker, and Steve Blackman comes out. And Steve Blackman, I don't remember him ever having any beef with the Undertaker, so it's kind of random like that. Sometimes it's the person you choose as your partner. It would have been cool if it was that in that case with Undertaker, because my partner was Kane, and Kane and Undertaker always have rivalry. But here we're sort of reliving the storyline that you probably would have seen in WrestleMania 2000 if they had a story mode similar to this championship path that No Mercy has. But Austin survives the day. He goes to WrestleMania 15. And speaking also of WrestleMania 15 and WrestleMania 2000, if you haven't already, I do have a fantasy booking episode about WrestleMania 15. I plan on doing more fantasy booking episodes, especially with WrestleMania around the corner. I might do some with WrestleMania 2, No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, maybe with WWE 2K and last year's WrestleMania. I really love the fantasy booking because we always think about what could have happened. And one of the things that even Stone Cold has talked about in the past with The Rock is that they didn't want The Rock facing Stone Cold at WrestleMania 15. A lot of people backstage did not think that it should be The Rock in that main event slot, that he wasn't as popular as Stone Cold, or he wasn't as popular as an antagonist to be main eventing with Stone Cold. And Stone Cold, along with a few other people, but Stone Cold most importantly, he wanted to face The Rock. He knew him and The Rock, that was going to be a big main event match. That was going to be a money-making feud, and it was. And they already had a few run-ins in the past, over the Intercontinental Championship I talked about before when Stone Cold got hurt. He got hurt against Owen Hart. That was actually an Intercontinental Championship match. And he won. He won the match, even though he broke his neck. He did a very, as best of a roll-up as you can do with a broken neck. I can't even probably do a regular roll-up well. He did one with the broken neck. Won the title from Owen Hart. Dropped the title because of injury. Owen Hart would reclaim it on his own, but then when Austin came back, he got the title back from Owen Hart, but he still wasn't completely ready to wrestle. Again, they were doing a very good job of sort of masking his injury at the time, and he would give the Intercontinental Championship to The Rock. So they already had a few brief moments. There's an infamous throwing the belt over the bridge episode of Raw, and throwing each other over the bridge and stuff like that, and fighting over this championship. So him and The Rock, the groundwork was already laid out going into WrestleMania, but WrestleMania 15 is really where you see the start of the Austin The Rock rivalry. And now coming back to November of 1999 in Survivor Series, where Austin's getting hit with the car, The Rock is able to come in and fill that slot as the top babyface, become the people's champion. And he was already, it was already kind of, I always wonder, and that's why I would love to do a fantasy booking episode, because I always wondered what would a WrestleMania 2000 look like if Austin didn't get hurt. What was the plan? Were they going to do Stone Cold and The Rock again right then and there? Was it going to be Stone Cold and Triple H, which is what they were sort of trying to get to even as early as WrestleMania 15? And right before Survivor Series, Triple H and Austin had a match at No Mercy 1999, from which this game gets its name and the main inspiration from, because that's where we also saw the ladder match with the Hardy Boys, and we have the ladder match introduced in this game. He wrestled Triple H for the WWF Championship, and he would lose due to interference from The Rock, who hit Austin with a sledgehammer, but he was supposed to be hitting Triple H. Then Triple H knocks out The Rock, and then he pins Stone Cold. So that sets up a triple threat match for Survivor Series, where it was supposed to be Triple H, The Rock, and Austin. And Austin gets hit by a car, and the Big Show is the substitute, and he comes in and he wins the championship. And I talk about this a lot. I talk about the whole build-up to the road to WrestleMania 2000 and the McMahon in every corner in my The Rock Let's Play. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But Austin wouldn't be seen in a match on pay-per-view until No Mercy of 2000, a full year later, like a year exact. He had the pay-per-view match at No Mercy 99, and then his first pay-per-view match would be at No Mercy 2000. He would return to on-screen and camera earlier. You would see him return at Backlash, actually, where he would help The Rock win the WWF Championship against the McMahon-Helmsley faction, coming in, hitting everyone with a chair. Very tellingly, not hitting everyone with Stone Cold Stunners, because, again, I don't think he was quite fully healed to take bumps, but he was fully healed enough to come in and just make a quick run in and hit everyone with chairs, and then The Rock would become WWF champion after WrestleMania 2000, and I talked about this in my Rock Let's Play, but it's something I do want to explore with the fantasy booking. You know, with Triple H winning at WrestleMania 2000, if Stone Cold faced Triple H at WrestleMania 2000, would that have been the outcome? If Stone Cold faced The Rock at WrestleMania 2000, would Stone Cold have, you know, won the match? Would it have been a fatal four-way still with Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, and maybe Mankind? You know, would we have gotten the Cactus Jack Triple H rivalry if Stone Cold was still around? You know, there's so many what-if scenarios, what could have happened. And you think about with injuries today in WWE, in other organizations, again, when Stone Cold got injured the first time, they kept them on camera, I believe, because they, you know, the Monday Night War was in full effect. They did not want to lose their hottest star. But this time around, they probably had to take him off because of necessity, because of the surgery. But, you know, they had people to sort of step up. They had The Rock, they had Triple H, they had Mankind. Undertaker would get hurt too. That was like another blow for them. Undertaker would get hurt too. But they had a few people there to step up. They had a mid-card that was rising up with especially the tag team division. Hardys, Dudleys, Edge and Christian. You had Jericho, who just came in. The Radical, or Jericho, who's been around for a while, but he's stepping it up. The Radicals coming in. So you had Benoit, you had Eddie Guerrero. And it seemed like the momentum was still able to carry, even though without Stone Cold Steve Austin there. It's, in a lot of ways, it's almost not similar, but it's something you see now where if you have a major star who gets injured, they do take them off TV. You don't see them until they're able to come back fully recovered, and they have people come in and sort of fill their slot. And I think that's always a good thing, but it's also something that I think brings to question, like, what if they just rotated people more? You know what I mean? Like, what if they rotated people more and gave people time off to heal? Because, and things are different now than they were back then. Back then, you know, Stone Cold even talks about the first time he got hurt with his neck. During that Austin match, he didn't go to the hospital, like, right away. Like, he got a ride to the hotel, kind of slept it off. You know, getting hurt, you just ignored it. Now they don't ignore it. Now they, you know, you get hurt, boom, right away. Tommaso Ciampa, he's getting neck surgery again. He's going to be out. Well, he's getting neck surgery now. Last time it was knee surgery, but he's going to be out for more than a year. And right away, boom, he went, got surgery for it. So they're a lot more protective now of wrestlers. And it makes you wonder with this Austin injury, because after his return, we would only see Stone Cold a few more times. His match with The Rock at WrestleMania 19 was his very last match in the WWE. And if you really look at his whole time as a professional wrestler and his time in WWE, it's not as long compared to, you know, the Chris Jerichos, the John Cenas, Triple H, you know, Brock Lesnar in a way, you know, like so many people, AJ Styles. Look at how many people are wrestling today in WWE and how long they've lasted. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, the amount of injuries, the amount of damage you sustain in your career. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, I feel like, is an anomaly to that, because he had to work through some very severe injuries, probably come back sooner than he should have, because he was the hottest star in the company. And at that time, that really meant a lot for the health and the growth of WWE. It always makes me wonder if he was able to take the time off like he did during the year of 2000, back when he first got hurt with Owen Hart, if that would have prolonged his career earlier. Another thing to look at too is the amount of medical science that was available at that time, and that's something that benefited Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels, when he first retired, he retired because he didn't want to take a specific surgery that would completely ruin his in-ring wrestling career, but he knew he couldn't continue wrestling because of his injury. But flash forward a few years later, medical science had improved to help him make a return to the ring. So I think Austin as well unfortunately did not benefit from the improvements of medical science, and I think the surgery that he got prevented him from having a much longer in-ring career. It's really crazy. We all know Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the hottest acts in wrestling and WWE and stuff like that, but at this time when he comes back in 2000, he would only be around for about 3 more years, and then he would wrap up his in-ring career. And you look at from when he blew up from, like, you know, let's say King of the Ring 96, that was his first and only King of the Ring appearance. He wins it, goes on to feud with Bret Hart. So you look at from, you know, maybe 97 to 2003, that pretty much sums up the Stone Cold Steve Austin that we all know and love today. That's not a whole lot of time, especially you look at comparing it to so many people who are still wrestling from the late 90s, early 2000, and also the people who have been wrestling, you know, the past 10, 12 years. They've already eclipsed the amount of time that Stone Cold had, but Stone Cold is an icon. Stone Cold is a legend. In that small amount of time, he was able to do so much. I think that's something that we maybe don't always realize. We realize Stone Cold is an icon. We realize Stone Cold is this, you know, one of a kind, never going to be seen again kind of impact on the wrestling business and wrestling entertainment. But he did it in kind of a short amount of time, and it's very impressive. And he probably could have gone a lot longer if he didn't have these injuries. And that's something I'm always reminded about when I think of Stone Cold getting hit by Rikishi in the car. And we didn't know it was Rikishi. Stone Cold would come back again after Backlash, and no one was safe. Everyone's a suspect. Stone Cold is going to be his own investigative, you know, detective, giving stunners to everyone who he thinks is lying, trying to find out the truth. He's going at odds with Commissioner Foley because he keeps interfering in matches, keeps attacking people. And again, this was another way to keep him on camera while he was still recovering. Eventually, it would be revealed that Rikishi was the one who did it for The Rock. His motivation, trying to advance The Rock's career without The Rock's input. You know, he acted completely alone, but because they're family, they share the same bloodline, he wanted to help The Rock in whatever way he could. And he thought by taking out Stone Cold, that would help The Rock. I've talked about at length the whole Rikishi running over Stone Cold in my Rikishi Intercontinental Championship Let's Play. It's one of my favorite episodes. You talk about what-if scenarios. I go over so many what-if scenarios in that one with Rikishi. But Austin would return at a pay-per-view match at No Mercy 2000 against Rikishi. The first and only time he really has a match with Rikishi, the guy who ran him over. They have this pay-per-view match. It's supposed to be no holds bar. You can tell Austin is... The way this match is done tells me it's like this is a way for Austin to sort of work off the ring rust, because Austin basically doesn't take any bumps. He comes in on his truck, and they brawl the whole match pretty much on the outside. Eventually, Austin throws Rikishi into the back of his truck, takes him out to the back parking lot, tries to run him over, ends up hitting a cop car. And so all these cops show up. It's the fastest I've ever seen cops show up for anything, by the way. They all show up, arrest Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then that's that for Austin and Rikishi. You know, it's always been talked about how some of the original ideas of who hit Stone Cold Steve Austin was most likely going to be Triple H. You know, I think I remember Bruce Pritchard talking about that on his Something to Wrestle podcast with Conrad Thompson. They didn't really know who it was going to be that hit Stone Cold. They were like, we'll figure out later, but originally the idea was going to be Triple H because Triple H and Stone Cold were feuding leading up to that. And then somewhere along the line, they wanted to do something different. They wanted to create a different story, and they went with Rikishi. But what's fascinating is that he doesn't really feud with Rikishi after that. We see that, you know, the next month at Survivor Series, he's back fighting Triple H. At Rebellion 2000, which was a glorified house show in the UK disguised as a pay-per-view held in the same month as Armageddon, there was a Four Corners match for the WWF Championship with Rikishi, The Rock, Kurt Angle, who's champion by this time, and Stone Cold. That only lasted 9 minutes. And again, a lot of brawling, a lot of misdirection. That leads us into Armageddon 2000, which was a 6-way Hell in a Cell. 6-way Hell in a Cell where it's Rikishi, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Kurt Angle, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Again, Kurt Angle is the WWF champion. How so much things have changed in the year 2000. And Rikishi infamously gets thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell, but it's not by Stone Cold, you would imagine. It's The Undertaker who, quote-unquote, chokeslams him off the top of the Hell in a Cell into a flatbed truck that has hay, if I remember correctly, that he falls into. It's like an Assassin's Creed when you jump off the top of a building, you land into a cart of hay. That's kind of what happens with Rikishi after he scans the surrounding area to reveal more of his map. And that's it. Stone Cold, you know, we don't really kind of talk about it ever again. It's acknowledged that Stone Cold got hit by a car and it was Rikishi who did it, but it's kind of on to the next thing for Stone Cold, because that's when we go to the Royal Rumble, and where he goes to win the Royal Rumble, and then he goes on to face The Rock again at WrestleMania 17. A quick thing though about that Hell in a Cell, that Armageddon Hell in a Cell, I'm currently playing on twitch.tv/BeBetterGamer. I'm currently playing through SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I'm playing it once a week, every Thursday usually, and they have the Hell in a Cell. They have the Hell in a Cell match where you can do all 6 people. So I thought that was really cool, because again, it's the first time I've been playing SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I kind of missed it when it was released back in the day, but now I'm finally playing it on Twitch, and it was really interesting playing that Hell in a Cell match because the camera was zoomed out almost all the way entirely, and then the Hell in a Cell was like kind of blocking a lot of the action in the ring. And I tried to go up to the Hell in a Cell, and everyone just falls off very easily, but then they get back up right away. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to play that kind of match type where it's like people get thrown off the Hell in a Cell casually, and then they just get right back up. But you could do that in SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, which is fun. I just thought I'd mention that because I was surprised to see that match type in a wrestling game from, 2003, Hell in a Cell, 6 people. Crazy. It's crazy that they were able to get that done and have it move as fast as it does. Like, it doesn't really slow down, doesn't really drag. The camera needs a little bit of work, but what can you really expect at that time? So that was kind of neat. Recreated that. I played as Kurt Angle because he won the match, and I think Taker ended up winning. Taker or Triple H, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look back up in the Twitch archive. Here I am facing Stevie Richards, who's supposed to be played by The Big Show. Again, this is sort of revolving around Austin's feud at the time leading into WrestleMania. We're having him against The Big Show on an episode of Monday Night Raw. But at the Royal Rumble 2001, that's where we will see Stone Cold win again to go face The Rock. What would eventually be The Rock. He would recapture the title because The Rock is also in that Royal Rumble, but he would recapture the title before WrestleMania 17. So we're set for the rematch of The Rock and Stone Cold at WrestleMania 17. And now things are completely different. The context has changed. It's not about Austin versus the corporation, because The Rock is no longer the corporate champ. The Rock is now the people's champ. The Rock, in Stone Cold's absence, becomes arguably as big a star, maybe even bigger than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Here they do the whole skit right here. If you can see Vince McMahon coming out, he's supposed to be the ref at WrestleMania 1999. I always thought it was funny that they call it WrestleMania 1999 this game. It's WrestleMania 15. And then Shawn Michaels, who was the commissioner at the time, says, no way, buddy. You're not going to be the special guest referee. You're not going to mess things up. And he kicks Mr. McMahon out, who still tries to interfere in the match. But, shenanigans. Corporation gets their comeuppance. I believe Mick Foley runs down, delivers the final count, and Stone Cold wins against The Rock. I believe that's how it went down. don't know. I forget sometimes. I gotta be honest. As much research as I do for these videos, and I watch all these matches, and they just all sort of blend in together, and I see a lot of the same things over and over again. So I forget which match they actually happen and what sequence of events they happened with. But speaking of WrestleMania 99, you know, comparing it to WrestleMania 2001, you know, 15 and 17, Austin is back to sort of reclaim his throne, if you will. He's not necessarily a heel. The Rock isn't really a heel. These are two of the top baby faces, not just in WWE at the time, in all of wrestling at the time, in the history of WWE at the time. This was an epic encounter, much different from their match 2 years previous. Think of it like Okada and Tanahashi. Like, you know, think of like their first Wrestle Kingdom matches, and then later on when Okada finally beats Tanahashi, this was like sort of the first of that. And I think that's why so many people revere WrestleMania 17. Not only is it an excellent WrestleMania, I think it is one of the best that WWE ever did, top to bottom. Such a great card. But the Austin Rock match is such a fascinating match, and Austin wins. Austin beats The Rock, but where we saw Austin beat The Rock and defeating the corporation, he didn't really defeat like the entire corporation, but you know, he held off the corporation for a little bit. He won that battle. The war was still ongoing, if you will. Austin joins Mr. McMahon at the end of WrestleMania 17, which and effectively turning Austin heel. So we do get a role reversal at the end of the match going into WrestleMania 17. Austin has talked about that moment so many times on his podcast and other interviews, and I think it's just fascinating that Austin really does regret turning heel. He really does regret that final run of his where he joined up with McMahon. I thought they did an okay job with it. You know what I mean? It was very funny, a lot of the stuff with Kurt Angle and Stone Cold and McMahon. They had a lot of great chemistry, very funny skits. But then I think what really soured it is that eventually after this we would get the Invasion, and Stone Cold would be a part of that with McMahon and feuding with The Rock and all this stuff, and things became very convoluted. It did eventually go away from the fact that Austin and The Rock are sort of fighting over being the two top stars of the company. I would have been okay, I think, with the Stone Cold Steve Austin heel turn if it really was just about that, but classic WWE, it can't just be about one thing. It has to be about 100 different things at the same time. And as big as that moment could have been of Stone Cold turning on The Rock and joining McMahon, someone we've seen him fight with so many years, and sort of echoing what The Rock did previously to stay on top, now we see Stone Cold doing it. Stone Cold infamously has said that he really wished he would have called an audible in the ring and delivered a stunner to Mr. McMahon. That's another what if, right? What if Stone Cold Steve Austin does not join McMahon at the end of WrestleMania 17? Great match though, still holds up. Go and watch it if you've never seen. Yeah, I think it's my favorite match of the trilogy of them as well. I hate to be as cliche as that, but I really do. I really do like it. I really do like WrestleMania 17. Stone Cold and The Rock. Here I am giving the stunner to The Rock, finishing him off here. The Rock would eventually win against Stone Cold. He would eventually beat Stone Cold at WrestleMania 19 in what would be Stone Cold's very last match in WWE. We didn't know it at the time. We didn't know that Stone Cold was going to be ending his wrestling career. It was kept secret. Stone Cold kind of really didn't know that that was going to be his last match. He wrote about it in his book where he came to the conclusion as they got closer to WrestleMania that he really did feel like, I think this might be it. I think I might take some time off after this and then just end it. Just end it. He goes out on top, you know what I mean? Like, who doesn't want to go out in a main event of WrestleMania? Also, quick note here: if you win the WWF Championship with Stone Cold Steve Austin, he begins to wear the Smoking Skull belt. The Smoking Skull belt, which in WWF WrestleMania 2000 you could unlock the belts, and then create them, and you could unlock the Smoking Skull Championship in WrestleMania 2000 if you complete Road to WrestleMania with Stone Cold. Here you can unlock it, but you only could unlock it with Stone Cold. So if I were to win this championship, if I were to beat Stone Cold with someone else like The Rock or Kurt Angle or something, they would go back to wearing the WWF Championship. I kind of miss that you were able to unlock the individual belts. I love it when wrestling games have belts in them. One of my biggest pet peeves is when wrestling games, they'll acknowledge that certain people are champions, but you don't actually see the championships. I love it when I can see the championships. I love it when they come out wearing the championships. But it's kind of disappointing that in this game, compared to, let's say, WrestleMania 2000 or even Virtual Wrestling 2, which has a bunch of belts in it, that we only see the Smoking Skull belt if Stone Cold Steve Austin is wearing it. And here he is closing it out against Mr. McMahon. I have to hit him with 10 weapons, or not 10 weapons. I have to hit him 10 times with the weapon. And again, I am keeping count, but I like to do a little bit more than asked. So I think I end up hitting him like 15 or 18 times, something like that. But yeah, 2003, man, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he wasn't around as long as we probably remember. You know what I mean? He seems like he was around much longer than that in WWE. And obviously, he had his career in WCW with the Hollywood Blondes. He was a TV title champ, US heavyweight champ, tag champ in WCW. But in WWE, coming in first as the ringmaster, but eventually becoming Stone Cold, after that King of the Ring monologue where Austin 316 said, "I just whooped your ass." He was the King of the Ring winner, won the Royal Rumble 3 times, the only WWE wrestler still to this day to win it 3 times. He held the Intercontinental Championship 2 times, never lost it, by the way. I mentioned earlier, he vacated it both times. He won the WWF Tag Team Championship 4 times. He was also the $1 Million champion when he was the ringmaster. And he's held the WWF Championship 6 times, 4th overall in total number of reigns, tied with Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold have held the WWF Championship the same amount of times. That's another what if. Why didn't Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan ever meet up? We got Hogan and The Rock at WrestleMania 18, but we never got Hogan and Stone Cold. Total number of combined days as WWF champion, 529, 10th overall, 5th time Triple Crown champion, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009. I mean, if you're watching this video, you know all about Stone Cold already, but I just wanted to highlight what an interesting year 2000 was, and kind of it was I'm not going to say the beginning of the end, but it definitely was, the beginning of the last few chapters in the history of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Definitely a turning point in his in-ring career. Obviously, you can still listen to Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has a very funny podcast that he does where he interviews other wrestlers. And you can always watch his stuff on the WWE Network. And if you're like me, you can always play as him in WWF No Mercy or in any other wrestling game. He's still in like every WWE game. But that's going to be it for my Stone Cold WWF No Mercy Let's Play for the WWF Championship. 2 down, 6 more to go. So make sure you follow me, subscribe here on Twitter, leave a comment, leave a like below. Let me know who you think I'm going to be playing as next. 6 more people. That's not a lot of slots left. So let me know. You can check out the rest of my WWF No Mercy Let's Plays. You can check out my No Mercy Cause. Make sure you follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at BeBetterGamer. And until next time, you know what to do. Keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you, everyone.